But we have on our song list a title called Fairmont. I don't know if you remember this, Vanessa, but when the San Francisco earthquake happened, one of the only buildings that survived was the Fairmont Hotel. And a guy staying there was like the most famous opera singer in the world. And so he spent the weeks after that earthquake walking around the destructed city singing to people. And he was a big part of how San Francisco got through that terrible earthquake. So we haven't written that song yet, but it just reminds me how people do look toward musicians. But as the musician, it's difficult to not feel a little selfish thinking about, my music career in the middle of all this. So.
Welcome to the Lone Star Play Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Scott Armstrong. Join me and a famous guest every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We discuss their career, life, food, Texas, and everything in between. Let's get started. Well, thanks guys for joining. I'm super excited to talk some music, Texas, some different stuff. Was really, looking into you guys a little bit more, was really struck by the name. First off, just love, so I kind of wanted to start there of where y'all got that name from. And yeah, I just love it. Super cool.
Thank you. Vanessa, you want to tell them?
Where the name came from. So, basically the name came from an old typewriter. It's kind of where the name derived from. I collect typewriters. I have a ton of them. I have probably almost 20 at the moment. And all beautiful. Most of them are pre-1950s. I really like that iron kind of look to it. So anyways, Granville Automatic was a typewriter from the late 1800s. And it was a huge failure, unfortunately. So hopefully our band will not be the same.
I love that. I also read like it was about, because y'all were going to tell sort of, or do songs about history, right? So I liked that there was this sort of antique way of, that we used to type. And, I guess even back then that was a big deal to have a typewriter, right? I guess at that.
Yeah.
Right. That's
like an expensive piece of equipment, like a computer is now, very simple, like a luxury.
That makes sense. So what was the choice behind, I just found this very fascinating, this whole idea of, okay, we're going to do songs about history and tell these stories. And I'd never really heard of a project sort of that directly aimed like that. I love it. It's cool.
The band kind of started as a means and a medium for both of us to sort of be able to better mold our love of storytelling. We're both storytellers by nature. We wanted an avenue to be able to do that. So really it started off as just a storytelling band, whether that be fact or fiction. And then one day we were rolling along in the car and I sort of mentioned to Elkins, I said, you love history. Why don't we do an entire album about war? Like, why don't we just like write some songs about history? And so then that's kind of how it started. But half of the first album isn't necessarily based in history.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of unexpected. We loved the storytelling part. And the first record had a couple, we like to just inhabit other people's viewpoints. We both had plenty of projects before. I've been in a punk rock band where you're kind of rewriting the same perspective over and over again. And so it opened up just ideas for us as songwriters, and it morphed into, writing kind of projects that were based on themes from history or based on the lost part of a city. We actually have a whole Texas record written that we haven't recorded yet. So it really just became a way to expand our way of thinking as writers. And it's interesting to see, other artists, I think, dabble in it a little bit too. But it's opened up a lot of, I think, perspective for us. And we just keep learning more about the places we're in and the places we travel to.
That's awesome. Wow, that's great. And it gives you, inspirations for songs, because I know that probably, trying to find new reasons to write songs can be difficult sometimes, looking for things or whatever. So that's got to be good, right? Sort of helps narrow it down of.
You basically just have to ruin your relationship every 3 or 4 years to get material to write about, and then fall in love again, write about that breakup, it's a problem. So history helps you stay out of that pattern, although you'll see it's exactly the same pattern in history. So
History repeats itself, right?
it does. Here we are again. Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, that's so crazy. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Almost literally 100 years,
Absolutely.
which is crazy. So what's this new? I mean, I don't want to jump around, but it's a podcast. This is what we do. There's no real structure to this, but yeah, you mentioned this album they haven't done. What does that mean? Like songs about Texas history?
Yeah, we started writing that years and years ago. We have a song called, gosh, I don't remember what song it started with. It may have started with a song that's actually on our Live from Sun studio record called Green Music Hall, which was just sort of not intended to be a history song, but it was just a song about how just the feeling Texas gives you. And then over the years, we started writing more. And then we ended up with this song, You Can Go to Hell, I'm Going to Texas. Obviously, the famous Davy Crockett quote became one of our most popular songs. And then we've assembled probably 10 or 11 songs, and we have a few more to write for a record. I think it'll be called Dancing at El Mercado, which ties into Vanessa. You can jump in here. She grew up, born in Houston, but grew up spending a lot of summers in San Antonio.
Yeah, with my grandparents, and we always went to El Mercado to go dancing, and I would dance with my grandpa all the time. So it was a fond memory for me, and I want to honor that.
So El Mercado, what is it? A dance hall, or are you talking about?
It's the Market Square in San Antonio, and probably my favorite place to go. It's where one of my favorite restaurants is, which we will discuss later, and just a beautiful spot. There's like a Mexican market, flea market kind of situation where there's a lot of people with rings and, woodworkings and different little like paper crowns with flowers, things like that.
Yeah.
So, and then there's a Mexican art museum as well. So it's a pretty cool area, a couple restaurants.
I can get back to San Antonio. I just feel like I haven't been back. Honestly, I haven't been back to San Antonio in, this is embarrassing, like 20 years. I live in Austin right now. So this
shame.
Yeah.
Isn't that?
It's crazy that two cities that are, without traffic an hour apart can be so different.
I think I took somebody to the airport a few years ago, just dropped them off. That's it. Like that's so crazy.
Shame on you.
Look, to my defense, the last 5 or 6 years, I was running a food truck and catering business here in Austin. You don't have time for nothing.
Right. Plus, who wants to sit on I-35 for 3 hours? Let's be honest.
No one.
35, boy, that has a history. Y'all should do a song about fucking 30. Never be finished till the end of time.
The song will be called "Exit to the Access Road." That's what the song will be called. Take the access road. Merge back on. Take the access road.
Lane closed ahead. Yeah. That's hilarious. Well, I love this about about all the history of San Antonio. That's great. I think I love the idea of having a Texas album, I guess, with the history of it, and I think that would be great. You guys said y'all played a couple shows at the end of February, right before all of this hit, right? Basically right before all tours and shows started to get canceled. South by gets canceled, I think, within a week or two of that, I'm assuming. I'm assuming y'all had a bunch of other shows lined up and all this other stuff, right? Or
yeah, we played our last two shows of the year. We're in Dallas and Houston with the Steel Drivers. It was February 27th and 8th. We flew into Austin, played the shows, flew out. And then I was telling you, we came home and a day later, Nashville got hit by a major tornado. And then basically the pandemic began. So, and South by we've played a handful of times. I think, there was a stretch from like 2014 to 18. We were out there playing, and we weren't planning on playing this year. But it was, we had some of probably our favorite shows ever with the Steel Drivers, Kessler Theater and Houston Heights. Just super great shows, incredible audience. So it was a great way. I mean, little did we know, I guess if we could pick here, these are going to be your last shows for a while. We couldn't have asked for them.
I know, we went out with a bang for sure.
Yeah, they were great shows.
At least something.
That's good. Okay. Well, so is it too hard to start planning anything like that now?
Well, they keep, shows keep getting pushed back and back and back. I think initially the industry thought, well, you can push them to June or July and it'll be fine. Then those got pushed to October, November. Now they're getting pushed to the spring and some of the summer of next year. There are some outdoor shows happening, and I think in Texas there's some more shows maybe that are happening than here right now. But we have a show in Atlanta that's an outdoor, socially distanced, smaller venue happening in September that we hope we'll be able to do. But I think it's going to be those small kind of outdoor ones for a little bit. But as far as the regular touring in theaters, and I think that may be a bit in the distance, unfortunately.
Yeah. Gosh, it's like
hard to plan anything right now.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, it's 100%. And what's disappointing is just, I know that taking away the live performances from musicians and singers like has to be just so detrimental to like who you guys are as people, and that energy that y'all feed off of, and just the financial aspects of it as well, just what that brings in. And it just saddens me, honestly, to see all this happening. How are y'all doing with like live show? Are y'all trying to, live streaming, connecting with fans that way, that sort of thing? Or
we've done a little bit of live streaming. I feel like for a minute it got really, really overly saturated, and so many people were doing it. It's like, do you want to watch a live stream with John Mayer or Granville Automatic? And it's really hard to sell yourself when you're up against that. So I feel like we kind of made it a joint decision to just hold off until it kind of died down a little bit, and we maybe had more of an opportunity to build a fan base rather than just play a superfluous show.
And it's so weird because music already has this weird problem of people expecting it to be free. And suddenly, and again, this is something people could debate, but for me, I started to see all these big artists doing things for free, and that's wonderful. And this is a terribly difficult time in America and the world, but it has turned into now that's sort of expected for free. And I mean, it's so complicated to think about the people who are out of work, even on the big level, from the truck drivers to the stagehands to the guitar tech. So so we just kind of decided, one, it's really hard to connect with people that way. The sound is always really bad unless you've really got the pro set up. It's awkward. And for a little while, Vanessa and I don't live in the same house. So we were having to make a decision. Okay, who have you seen? What have you done? Are we comfortable with you singing 6 feet from me? So I think it is complicated if there's more than one person. But yeah, I think it also, if you, like you're saying, if you're used to that feedback from the audience, you're used to the travel, you're used to the experience, you're used to that, and you've made sacrifices for your career that way, it's weird. You're like, what role does music and the arts have when everyone's health is at risk? We're all perfectly mentally stable right now, Patrick.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It does put priorities, in place. But I will say this, and I'm not a musician or anything, but I will say that I think music is very important during a time like this for people, because I think music does a lot for people, to be honest with you. It gets them through tough times. I mean, just think about just through your life. If we were talking about earlier, right? If you have a breakup, well, if you're not a musician songwriter, you're not writing an album about it. You're going to buy the album from the artist you like to get you through that breakup or whatever. I mean, that was definitely the case back when I used to date. I'm married. I'm old now. It's old days, but I think anything, family member passes away, music gets you through it, that music. So I think it's actually crucial. Movies, maybe that's something different that maybe is not as essential, but I think music is I think it is essential service in a weird way, because it does bring happiness and peace to people and joy during times like this. And, y'all's music especially could, I'm sure it's doing the same thing for people. So, in a weird way, it is important,
It is. And it sucks. A lot of local businesses are really suffering right now. A lot of stages are starting to disappear that were essential to our community, because people can no longer afford to keep those places open. So it's really sad what's happening, and it's affecting the music industry in more ways than people can even see. from an outside perspective. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is. I agree. It's also, I will say, and this is strange, I think I've seen a lot of artists debate on social media. When you're writing songs, it often feels so self-centered. Even when you're writing about history, it takes some of that away. You feel like maybe there's a purpose to it. But again, when you feel like writing is almost a selfish art at times, and though it is nice to hear that it does affect people in a positive way and give them, courage to go forward and feel more related to connected, it is a weird, like, do I want to sit here and write a song while people are dying? It is a very odd, but we have on our song list a title called Fairmont. I don't know if you remember this, Vanessa, but when the San Francisco earthquake happened, one of the only buildings that survived was the Fairmont Hotel. And a guy staying there was like the most famous opera singer in the world. And so he spent the weeks after that earthquake walking around the destructed city singing to people. And he was a big part of how San Francisco got through that terrible earthquake. So we haven't written that song yet, but it just reminds me how people do look toward musicians. But as the musician, it's difficult to not feel a little selfish thinking about, my music career in the middle of all this. So.
No, I totally understand that. And that just because you're a good person, right? And you have a good heart and you think about these things, and that's okay. And I think that's great, but on the flip side, just, you're a fan of music as well, so just think about how you view other people's music, it works the same sort of way, inspired or whatever. So it inspires people to, gives them hope. It does all kinds of things, there's definitely far more people that listen to music that have no idea how music is made or sang or anything, or have no musical, than there are people who know about it, right? Who make it. So music is really for people who don't know anything about it in a lot of ways, so now especially it definitely gets, literally the toughest times in my lifetime for sure that we've ever been through,
Yeah.
Yeah.
My parents have never even been through anything like this. So
That's not,
yeah.
I'm
getting
parents.
through it by eating. It's food therapy all the way for me. I've gained like 20 freaking pounds. Quarantine 15, baby. Let's go. I love it. I'm trying all the new recipes. I'm redecorating my house. I've had so much time for activities. Wonderful.
Activities. I love it.
Activities and food.
I love
basically.
What kind of food? Like what are we talking here? What kind of food are we getting?
Well, I switched to try recently. I switched to trying to be a vegan. To be a vegan. I've done pretty well with the meat. Meat is like whatever. I don't want to eat that cow. But like cheese is a whole other thing entirely.
Let me correct you for a second. Anytime in particular we're in Texas, what do I hear from you?
What?
Can we get some meat somewhere? Can we get some meat? Granted, recently less, but normally we've got to find some meat somewhere.
I'm what the kids are calling a flexitarian, is what people are calling it now. And it's like, I'm going to stay away from the things that I'm trying not to eat unless absolutely necessary, emergency button all the way. If I really want to try something, I'm not going to like deprive my body of it or of the 5 pounds that it's also going to gift me with. So I'm just going to eat it. Anyways, I've been trying a lot of vegan recipes, trying to like figure out a cheese that maybe will work for me that is not actually a cheese. So far, I've had no luck. But, I find that the cashew-based vegan cheeses are probably the best avenue of vegan cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. You could be vegetarian, still eat cheese.
Yeah.
That seems more logical for you.
Not eat the dairy, but and I try not to. Like this is a delicious oat milk latte, but I think if I could avoid the dairy altogether, my life would probably be a lot better sometimes.
Look, it's whatever's right for you, right? Like whatever works.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, most people eat vegan a lot of times during the week, or vegetarian at least. It's not like people eat a steak for every meal, all week long, every day, right? Like, so most people have a more balanced diet than they think in a lot of ways. Maybe that came out wrong. Not a balanced diet, I wouldn't say that, but eat less meat than they think they do.
Exactly.
Right? Like when I was a kid, it was like a big deal to get a good, nice steak, like for dinner or something. It wasn't like, it was sort of, it's not like eating meat all the time or all these things.
Meat on the weekends.
Yeah. It was kind of like, yeah, pretty much.
That's all you need.
It's kind of what it was. Like Friday, Saturday was like, oh, we're getting some meat. Like, oh, let's, get the neighbors in. Ask Jimmy if he wants to come over. So yeah, well, that's good that you're trying different stuff. Elizabeth, are you into any sort of particular way of eating, or you just, because I just eat
what I make.
Yeah.
I do eat I am not a cook. I have never been. I think that all the women in my family, like I can remember going to see my grandmother's house, now on my mom's side, and we'd roll in there when she was like 80 years old, and there was a box of Total in the house, and that was it. Like she just didn't cook. Now the other side, the Elkins side, was like the big Southern breakfast, 12 meats and 16 biscuits and every kind of egg, like every day. And then you clear the table and then lunch starts. So I don't cook. It's terrible. I can like put something in the microwave, but my problem is sugar. I just have to watch that. I really, I would eat cakes and cookies for breakfast.
Yeah.
But no, I am probably weirdly Mexican is probably my favorite type of food, which is handy.
Yeah.
Being in a band with a Mexican is helpful. But yeah, I'm more now since again, quarantine, everyone is trying to stay healthy. I'm trying to do like you said, actually meat only a couple times a week, usually chicken. Got to get a great burger once in a while, which is probably what I miss the most because I haven't gone and gotten a great burger anywhere.
Whatever. If you stopped eating meat, you really wouldn't miss it. I don't really miss it anymore.
No, I might eat it a couple times a week, and it's usually like, chicken and something. But and steak I eat once a year maybe. Mm-hmm. Not a big steak person, and often it's on the road because we do try when we're on the road because we both are kind of just into trying new restaurants and new places. We try to find great coffee shops on the road and also just great local food places anywhere we go. So yeah, for me, it's just been more trying to, up the fruits and vegetables and be healthy in quarantine, limit the alcohol, etc.
I did make a delicious, I went to Asheville to pick up a piece of furniture. And I ended up going to this delicious coffee shop there, and they had this coffee made with lemon sugar. Oh my God, lemon sugar. So I learned how to make lemon sugar. That's been my other new favorite discovery.
That's actually a good thing to do in a lot of is to supplement the sugar and what you use, like what you use to sweeten things. Mm-hmm. Is a really good way. As a chef, you learn that each ingredient actually adds, acidity, sugars, right? Sodium, right? All these different proteins or flavors. So a lot of times what people do is they add spices right on top of things that are already in, and that's where you get into trouble. That's why people go on diets. That's why people do all these things, because the regular meals they eat, if they just balanced them out more, you could literally eat anything you want all the time if you just balance it. That's all it is. It's just a balance. For me, there's no, and again, I respect anybody's choice of what they eat because it's your body. You got to do what you want, and everybody's different. But the thing I preach, and definitely on this podcast, we do talk about food, and it's just fresh, natural, balanced, food. Right? That's all it is. And just, sourcing, knowing where your food comes from, I think is very important. But I don't like to put a label on how I particularly eat, like vegan or vegetarian or a meat eater or this or that. Like I eat, I eat sort of what I want, what I'm in the mood for, but I keep it balanced. And look, I do have an advantage as a chef and working in the industry for so long and learning all these shortcuts and, learning going through the mistakes. You gotta make so many mistakes, just like as a songwriter, right? Just think about when you first learned to play guitar and what a difference, where you're at now, or the first song you wrote compared to the music you write now. It's sort of the same way. You got to make all these mistakes and sort of learn that way. And then you can realize, okay, I can really just sort of eat what I want, but I can't do it all the time. I can't eat green beans every meal. I can't eat steak every meal. I can't eat chicken every meal. I can't eat, it's just this balance. I don't know. I think maybe because I lived in Europe for a few years, I learned this sort of like Mediterranean thing where you just kind of, I don't know, maybe that sort of stuck in me as well. I'm not sure, but that seemed to, work for me.
And food is so good.
Well, it makes sense. I think your body tells you kind of what you need and what you don't need. But I've always had to keep an eye on my weight, but I had to lose a lot of weight in my 20s. And it really was about not what I ate. It was about, again, moderation, spacing things out, mixing things up. And I think more and more now everyone knows it's about where your food comes from and
Yes.
the wholeness of the food. So,
yes.
Which doesn't mean you can't just, dive into a cake once a month and have some pieces of cake. But
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That thing I ate this morning, Elkins, was one of the best things I've ever put in my mouth.
Was it really good? Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm dying. It was a croissant. It was an everything croissant. And it was a sandwich. So it was like egg and cheese souffle in the middle of an everything croissant.
This sounds delicious.
It was insane.
I haven't eaten yet. I don't eat before noon. So I die honestly when I talk about food before then. It's killing me.
Do you do intermittent fasting?
I've sort of done it my whole life, but the more I looked into it as I got older, I've really sort of stuck to it. So yeah, I really just eat between like 2 p.m. Really, I would say 2 p.m. and 9 p.m. That's
okay.
I did that for like 6 months. Weirdly, no effect on my weight, but I only ate from 1 to 8. But the major thing I noticed is because I'm like you, I'm old, but my eyesight with the reading has gotten bad as I've gotten older. By the third day of fasting or intermittent, just eating those 7 hours a day, it was almost perfectly clear. And I don't know, I read somewhere on the line that it said by doing that, you're regulating your blood sugar. And high blood sugar causes the vessels in your eyes to expand, which can cause the blurriness.
Ah.
So now I haven't stuck with it. I probably eat from like 11 a.m. to 9 now, but it's weird. There's something to that. Let your body chill.
I think that's all it is. Now, look, I'm not perfect on it, right? Like you were talking about earlier, like if I'll still, if I'm somewhere and something happens, if somebody's like, hey, you want to meet for breakfast and have a breakfast talk? I'm not gonna be like, nope, I don't eat before 2 p.m. so I can't meet you. No, okay, let's do it. I'll break a rule here or there, right? It's not I don't live like that, right? Like I just use it for the moment. That's pretty much kind of how I treat alcohol too. I don't drink alone. I don't anymore, right? It's like as I got older, I just realized, okay, first of all, my body can't handle the alcohol the next day, so let's just take it slowly, go with it. So that's pretty much the same way I treat food and whatnot. But
before the quarantine started, I thought I better go to the liquor store because I don't drink at home, and I drink socially with friends. And I went out and I spent like $100 on some good whiskey and some Tanqueray, and I was ready to go, and I have not opened it. Like I'm just like, what am I gonna do? Sit here and sadly drink by myself? I mean, no. But yeah. And Vanessa, you haven't had drinks in a long time, have you?
I don't really drink. No, I do smoke a lot of weed, but
You used to drink though.
Yeah, but drinking just doesn't agree with me anymore.
Yeah.
My recreational choice is always the marijuans because it just doesn't make me feel crappy, So if I'm going to do anything, it's going to be that.
I concur. That's where my heart lies as well. Yeah.
Just better. You don't get a hangover. You still have a great time.
Yeah.
It's very social. I think that has a bad rep because.
We lost her. She's out.
Where'd I go?
You are. You're back.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't think people think it's as social as it really is, and I expect they're just gonna like fall asleep, but it's not. It's not like that.
I mean,
You're
such
those naysayers, Elkins.
Austin's.
It makes me paranoid. I can't do it. It's just my body says no.
Yeah, you're. It's not for everybody, right? I mean, it's just not. It's not.
I wish it were, believe me. I really do. Vanessa has tried and I'm just like, it just, but I'm also that way, drink 4 or 5. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel the alcohol. I'm just a control freak. That's the problem. It's sad.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, the losing.
It's the losing control.
Yeah, she didn't like that.
Yeah,
I understand.
But I am glad that right before quarantine, I did drink my way through New Orleans for 3 days. So I'm thrilled that I had that experience. So.
I love that. Have you been writing any? I mean, I know you said earlier that you felt bad, like sort of, okay, writing a song right now is just sort of doesn't feel right or whatever. But have you still done it? Have you still written a few?
The co-writing part, and we do 2 things. We write for Granville Automatic and for ourselves and our projects, and then we write for country stars. That is almost non-existent right now in Nashville, except some friends will do it via Zoom, or a couple people that, quarantine together do it. I have written a little bit, in addition to the Texas album, we have, got one in the works about New York City. And the lost buildings of New York, and
with all our money that we have.
Yeah, we're just gonna when that record deal happens. But there was this very striking image to me. Obviously New York and New Jersey went through a very terrible March in April, and there was a story in the New York Times about a guy who was standing on top of the Brooklyn Bridge trying to jump right at the end of April, and that image struck me a lot. So I did sit down and write a song based on that guy's experience. I mean, I don't know him. I don't even know his name, but that I hope maybe will down the line be considered for the New York album. But, I think we're both sort of piddling around with little ideas. And when we write together, we send each other stuff. It's rare that we sit down and write together. We sort of correct each other or add to or edit or write sections for each other.
We would kill each other for trying to
So I sent it to Vanessa. I don't think I've gotten feedback on it yet, so that could mean it's terrible. I don't know.
Yeah. It usually just means I didn't listen and I forgot about it.
Oh, thanks. Come on.
Sorry, flaky AF, you know this.
Did you seriously not listen to it?
I mean, I probably did, or I didn't. I don't know.
Great. Thanks. There you go. The Granville Automatic dynamic.
You just have to pin it down and make me listen to it.
Right, I'll resend it.
I probably did.
Yeah, it's great. I'm kidding.
It's great. Yeah, it's probably.
It's probably just genius.
That's right.
But again, it was that chance of thinking, and I love to do the stream of conscious stuff. And in those moments, he's standing over, looking out over Brooklyn on one side and Lower Manhattan on the right. What is he thinking in that moment? Like, I haven't experienced that. But what has he been through? Did he lose someone? Did he lose family? Did he lose a loved one? Is he just, mentally ill? Is he sad? Is he anxious? And why pick the grandeur of the Brooklyn Bridge? And how did he get up there in the first place? And would you even die if you've been? I'm sure you've been on the Brooklyn Bridge, but the dynamic of trying to get across all the wires, I don't know. It's a hard bridge to jump off of.
100%.
Yeah, that would be
Are you from that area? You have a bit of a mid-Atlantic accent. I'm curious.
Me? No.
Or Southern California?
No. I lived in Philadelphia for a few years, but
maybe.
No.
Huh.
Philly.
I grew up in Dallas.
You got a little bit of that accent. Philadelphia is awesome. I had a great food city there.
Yeah.
It's a great food city.
Really, really good food there. Yes, 100%. I people always talk about Pat's and Geno's and going there, but to be honest, there's way better cheesesteaks than those places. And yeah, just a lot of good food and New York City as well. Talk about, a great place to get food. Shit, even Houston. I compare Houston to New York City in a lot of ways in the sense of, there's so much different styles of food in Houston. I mean, anything you want to eat, it's
there. It's
in Houston, man. It's like one of the best food cities in the country, and it's getting better and better and better. It's going to be incredible, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's a great city. To be honest with you, for food.
My cousin EJ is always talking about the food in Houston, and I haven't had a lot of experience with the food in Houston, a little bit, but I would like to go and try to experience it more in the winter.
It is the hottest. It's the hottest.
Go to Houston.
It's the hottest place on earth. It really
God, it
is.
feels like you're living in an armpit.
Yeah, it's a that's
You're just in there.
I've Houston. I love that. In August, especially. My God, it's so hot right now. I'm in Austin. It's again. I just look at the weather, right, and I just look at the weekly, coming up, and it's just like it just says "F you, F you, F you."
Exactly.
That's literally it. It's like it'll say like even 100, and you look at that and you think, oh my God, that's bad. Okay, but it says no, feels like 112. And that's the truth. You walk outside and just and Houston's worse than Austin because
Way worse.
humidity, just disgusting.
It's humid as all get out. I can't.
Horrible. Yeah,
It's so humid. Ugh.
you're right. You're 100% right. When do you guys? I guess so. It's going to be a while before y'all get back to Texas, then, right? I mean,
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's an odd time too because we're about to release a record and our first book, and it's such an odd time to think about releasing music.
Think about pushing that back or changing that based on this, or was
Well, it was up to our book publisher. So we didn't, I mean, the record is related to this book, which is called The Hidden History of Music Row. And so we wondered if the book publisher would push, and they did push back 4 or 5 months, but they did make a decision to release. So we're releasing the record with it. But yeah, it's odd not to tour behind it. It is definitely kind of weird.
It feels really strange.
So yeah, but then, I mean, I think it's just a question of, we will when we can. And fortunately we have so many more albums to come that I think another question was, I think none of us know how long this is going to go on. And if it is a long time, I mean, we didn't.
Then why wait?
And we're not like, we're not Justin Bieber. People are not clamoring for, oh gosh, when are they going to put out a record? So I think for us, we love that we have the book, and I think people are going to be interested in reading the book, and the album ties into that. So yeah, we were definitely torn on it. It's strange. But I think not knowing how long this will go on, it's almost impossible to just kind of okay, go for it and hope it works out.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's great too. This book and the CD, comes out like 2 weeks after the. Is that right, more or less?
Yeah, there's a couple singles coming out leading up to it, and then it's on. The book comes out August 31st, and the record follows on September 11th, so 2 weeks later.
Nice. Let's talk a little bit about that. Just a little bit of the inspiration behind that, the history of it. It's about Music Row in Nashville, right?
Yes.
So we put out a record called Radio Hymns, which is all lost stories from lost buildings in Nashville. And we put that out a couple years ago. And we were approached by a book publisher out of Charleston to write with a great historian named Brian Allison to write a book called The Hidden History of Music Row. So we would have never thought that our music career would turn into book writing. But we kind of called each other and said, can we do this? Can we figure this out? And did, and found some incredible secret stories about Music Row back from, the land in the 1750s and 60s, where there was this French fur trader who had like 6 wives. I think I had him up to about 6 wives now, all the way through, the Civil War period. One of the last government sanctioned hangings happened where BMG Music is right now. Then up into stories about Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings and Shel Silverstein, and to a lot of haunted buildings. So we really feel like we covered the gamut. And then we were inspired while doing that. Song stories kept coming to us. So we did record a few more songs that were inspired by writing the book. I think they're my favorite thing we've done ever. The title track is probably my favorite Granville song. And ironically, it led to us getting to write a second book, which will be out probably 2 years from now, hopefully in a better situation for the world. But yeah, it's one of the strange twists and turns that writing about history has led us to, which is exciting. I mean, I think the good thing about this stuff is the inspiration is unlimited with the stuff from history. And right now, the way the world is thinking about and interpreting history is fascinating, and that's something we've been working on for a while. And so it's interesting to talk about how we tell stories. And I think Music Row is how people tell stories on Music Row is very tricky. So much of it is first-person narrative right now, and memories of people over the last 60 years. And everybody's got a different memory, and people are careful about what they say, and it's been pretty fascinating to dig into.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
We're excited.
Yeah.
We had very different processes.
But
I'm kind of a procrastinator, so
that's what makes good partnerships work, though. You know.
Yeah, I believe that for sure.
Can't be the same person. That doesn't work.
No.
You know. Yeah. It's that. I think that's what makes it work. I love this idea of this book and CD together and the history. Like, this is cool. This could be, y'all might be getting in on something that could be really cool, you know, to do every album like this and have a book accompany. That could be.
Oh, dream of dreams.
I think it is an interesting idea. It's, and there are a handful of folks, like I believe, Rodney Crowell had a book out, and Randy Foster as well. But I think, as we think about this, in particular, the Texas album, as well as the stories from Lost New York, I think it would be great to have, whether that's a personal narrative type book, especially for Texas with Vanessa, or, chapters that really explain these stories more from New York, because, wow, fascinating stories. But some of that is, yeah. Some of it is, the budget to get all that out. We're fortunate we have the book publisher. But I think ideally, I still hold on to the goal. And I know, when I first started music, they were giving out the $5 million record deals, and my friends in rock bands were getting the big deals in Atlanta and stuff. But I still hold out that we'll find some sort of home for this band where we can keep putting out these concept records, potentially with books that go along with them, that it's unlimited. So I love doing it. It's different. I love getting to talk about it. And Vanessa's right. We work very, very differently. And I think some of that dynamic is part of what makes it work.
Oh.
Yes, agreed.
Y'all could do book tour too, right? So you could go do the book tour with them, play a song at the book tour. People would love that.
Well, we would be able to.
We were supposed to. Yeah, we were supposed to. Thanks, man. Thanks. Bringing us down.
I'm still thinking in the
old world.
Can't believe I just had that brain aneurysm. You're right. We're in a global pandemic. It's weird to think that and say that constantly. It truly is. God.
Yes, and initially it was going to be a book tour with the accompanying concert.
That's awesome. I love that. I think that's cool. I think I love hearing different. You called it sort of a concept album or whatever, but it could become a type of album, because the way content is now, there's really no box to it. People release music and content and whatever online, right? Just so differently. And I think it's ripe for that kind of stuff, now to do it. I think it's great. I think it's cool.
I agree.
Yeah. Even a documentary could go along with it as the same time. Like,
Hey, we try. We have this this idea. It has a wonderful name that we've tried to pitch to a few, like Vice and History Channel. It's called History with Boobs, and it is us out on the road, two young ladies. We did it for our Civil War record. We did a travelogue video series.
It was really fun too.
It was fun, and what we did is we picked someone to interview at every site. We interviewed park rangers, we interviewed Civil War reenactors, we interviewed people on the street in Atlanta at a shopping center that was the middle of the Battle of Atlanta. And I mean, it was both travelogue and comedy and history at the same time. So we have a little proposal for that. We keep throwing it out there, hoping someone will sort of pick it up. But there are a few on YouTube where you can see. We were in Glorieta, New Mexico, and Atlanta, and Louisiana, and Alabama, and it was pretty interesting. But yeah, Vanessa does the bulk of the interviewing. I provide the dry history narrative, and kind of drag her around America. So it's pretty entertaining. There's a place for it somewhere.
100%. Well, YouTube, and I don't know what else is out there. TikToks and everything else. That video is just, and doing it personally, right? It's it's the new way of getting content out. It's so strange because all of us didn't grow up with this, right? Like all of us did. None of us grew up with this sort of thing. So we've had to get used to it. And I think people our age still even like, well, I don't know if we can do that. I don't know. It's like, and kids are just doing all kinds of crazy stuff with the technology that is just passing us by, to be honest with you. That's what's happening. Right.
Yeah, they're way ahead of us. I'm like, TikTok, what? I have to dance? No, God.
I know. I get so confused about the TikTok stuff.
I'm very bitter Generation X over here.
I don't get it.
I'm with you. I haven't checked it out. I've never been on the app or the site. I don't even know if it is a site. But I've seen people post the videos on Instagram. Like, I guess you can, I don't know how they're doing it.
Share it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, they share it. Okay. Yeah. See, I don't even know that. They share it there, and yeah, I see it. So I don't know what's happening there on TikTok. Every time they put a video, it's something weird and music, and I just say, okay, that's all. That's just like Snapchat. I never got into Snapchat. I tried, I think, to get on. I couldn't figure it out, and I just gave up instantly. You know, it was like, this is so ridiculous.
There's so many of them. It's hard to figure out how to stay ahead of the game on all of it, especially as a musician. You're like, wait, I need content here, and here. But I do think YouTube is the answer for something like that. And again, we've got some up there, and I think it's, a question of dragging a camera person with good editing skills around a little bit with us too, which we've done. Fortunately, we had a great friend, Abby Lene, come do that with us for a while. But yeah, it's fun to do that. I mean, I think there's an element of that really works for us. But, the catch is getting back out on the road and being able to talk to people, and hopefully that happens before too long safely.
Yes, hopefully soon. I mean, yeah, hopefully that's good for everybody. Because like I said, the live music venues, the service industry, the musicians, the bands, right? The bassist, the drummer that's traveling around playing for everybody. Yeah, they're just everybody's suffering. And it's just horrific. That's horrific. Yeah, I hate it very much. So, what other projects besides, is there anything else coming up like around the new year or anything that you guys have had to postpone or anything like that? Or has everything just that was before getting pushed back, just that's it? That's what y'all had going?
Yeah, that's it for right now. I mean, I think we're fortunate we do have all these albums that we look forward to recording, which I hope we'll do. But for us, I think the plan was to have been touring this fall. And then a lot of next year, honestly, we'll be writing the second book. It does take about 6 months to research, write the book. So our second book, I think.
Or 2 months for me.
Yeah, or the last week for Vanessa when we're on the road. My God. I'm surprised the band lasted through that tour, actually. She seriously waited the last 2 weeks to start on her part of the book.
And then anytime she talked to me in the car, I'd be like, shut up! I'm working right now.
Sort of.
Absolute panic.
Oh my God. So yeah, a lot of that we'll be working on the book. We should be doing that now, but the motivation is strange right now. But yeah, so we'll be working on writing the book, which is due. The second book's due next July, and I'm hoping in the spring there'll be some touring. That returns, because we'd love to get out and play this new record.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe by next spring. I hope.
It seems a little bleak at the moment, but maybe there will be.
You never know.
God.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Well, better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it's funny. Once it's all over and we're all looking back on it, it'll be just like, you'll be glad you took certain precautions. You'll be glad you postponed certain things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You'll be happy with yourself.
Safety first.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, is there anything else that you guys wanted to talk about that I didn't bring up? I want to make sure that we cover anything or everything that you guys wanted to talk about.
I mean, I feel like we discussed the book. We discussed my freeganism. We discussed a great many things. I feel like that's everything. What about you, Elkins? You feel?
No, Yeah, I think we talked about food. We talked about, we talked about obviously the peril the restaurant industry is in, which, man, like I said, that's our favorite thing to do on the road. We're foodies. We like to find the cool local places. So we're really rooting for that to, legislatively to get a little help behind that, as well as the independent venues. Yeah, other than that, and I think history, just talking about how we're really living history right now, and in many, many ways, and the importance of how we tell those stories, which is what we love doing as songwriters. How when you tackle these tough subjects, and on our new record we do lots of different perspectives, how you tell those stories, where you get your information, how much you read, whose perspective, whose valid perspective versus, it's fascinating. So I think we're all being more aware of that right now, which I think is good. But yeah, other than that, we just miss Texas. We miss being out there, and it's always great. Yeah. And it was, we had 2 really wonderful shows with incredible crowds in Dallas and Houston. They were so supportive, and hopefully we'll get to, in 2021, get back out there and get to hang with people and talk to them and, tell them about the book.
I can't wait. I miss touring so much. I know all musicians right now are just, we're all kind of lost without it. It feels really weird to not really be doing music right now, and it gives you it's my sense of identity, and it's really difficult and makes you feel like you don't really have a purpose sometimes when you're not able to do what you love and what you feel like you were put on the earth to do. So I'm hoping that we will be lifted up soon and into a space where we can all thrive and be able to do what we love again. But we'll see.
Yeah.
If stupid people could stop being stupid and wear a mask.
There's your PSA from Vanessa Olivarez.
I love it.
I'm the MFG.
It's true, man. It really is true. To be honest with you, we would definitely get through it a lot quicker and be able to recover from it quicker if we all came together a little bit more. That is the honest truth. So, but here's to living in America. It's awesome. This is what Americans do. We like to be number one, even when it's dying.
Not a good reason to be number one.
This is a fascinating study in democracy, capitalism, and a democratic republic. It is absolutely fascinating right now. So I'm just trying to pay attention and imagine the history books that will be written 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 years from now. It's amazing.
100.
Look at Pig over there shaking. Oh, you missed it. That's funny. Sorry. My dog is such a weirdo.
Oh, I thought you said a pig. I was like, what?
Oh, her name is Pig.
I used to know a dog named Bird, so it happens.
Bird, cute. Pig, my God.
What's wrong with her? Oh,
she's just making noise. Hey, Pig, what are you doing? Yee. Just her ears.
Maybe she hears my dogs. I don't know. Do my dogs coming through now?
She hears something because she's like very perked up over there on the couch, like something's going on, and there's nothing going on in this house.
Dude, my dog will look up into the corner, like in the living room. He'll just start staring up at this. I'm just like, what are you looking at? You better tell me.
They're looking at ghosts.
That's what my wife says that sometimes. I swear, I'm like, stop it. Don't say that.
Do you live in an old house?
What part of Austin do you live in?
I live off of South Congress and Ben White, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Where I'm at. In an old house.
Ghosts.
It's an older
house.
Definitely ghosts. That's what it is. They say dogs can see them.
I'm telling you, they do look in weird places, and their ears will perk up, and they'll just start staring at something. I'm just looking. What are you looking at? There's nothing there. You're looking at a corner. I mean, it's like, it's crazy. They'll move their head a little bit sometimes. Like moved. I don't know, man. Dogs are some weird things, but anyway.
Yeah, so they probably know more than we do.
I don't know about that. My dog licks his butthole. I really don't think he knows much of anything.
Hey, so do party goers in Nashville right now. Made the national news. Way to go, Music City.
It's so embarrassing. Oh my God. And it's right up the street from my house too.
Yeah.
It's
Thanks.
just like, ugh, so embarrassing.
Thanks, influencers. Thanks for influencing.
I know. Influencers under the influence. Anyway.
Got to get that post. So, well, anyway, thank you guys so much. Again, I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I wish you guys, the best, getting all this. Wish you guys the best with the launch of, the book and the singles and all the new music and writing the new stuff. I can't wait to get you guys back on. Maybe, things start to tour and stuff. Maybe get you guys on right before you go on tour, see what that's going to be like. We'll get you all excited about that. But really enjoyed the conversation. Really enjoyed talking to you ladies.
Totally.
So
thank you. And I hope next time we're in Austin, we can connect and hopefully talk again.
Food. Let's get some.
Absolutely.
Guys, that's what I'll take you guys out to eat at some great Mexican place, right? With all Mexican food. We'll get some meats.
We'll see how much of it.
It's in celebration of our hangout.
Sure.
We'll eat.
There we go.
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, y'all be safe. And my best to you and your family, guys. All right.
All right. Thanks, Patrick.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. The Lone Star Plate podcast is produced by Texas Real Food. Go to texasrealfood.com and you can search your city for stores, butchers, restaurants, farmers markets, and more who are using fresh, artisanal, organic sources. It's a fun site that brings all natural options all together. I hope you enjoyed this episode. For more information, go to thelonestarplay.com. I'm your host, Patrick Scott Armstrong. Until next time.